Hi there, I'm Barb Holland, professional home economist with the Beef Information Center.
And I'm Peter Wright, author of the cookbook Home Ec for the Domestically Challenged with the Lipton Kitchen. We're here to talk to you about making great beef burgers, everything you'll need to know about how to mix, grill, and dress a truly top-notch backyard burger this summer.
Peter, homemade burgers are so yummy. They are truly a masterpiece of culinary simplicity.
That's right. And to make your backyard burgers the best they can be, let's show the folks some of the easy steps and terrific tips that are featured in this great new booklet developed by the Kitchens of Lipton and the Beef Information Center, Burger Basics and more.
Well, let's get right to it and go make some burgers.
It's important to think of cooking outdoors on the grill as an extension of your kitchen, and remember to use the same safe food handling practices when barbecuing. So, before you get started, wash your hands well, soap and water, before and after handling any raw food, especially raw meats, poultry, or seafood.
It takes about 20 seconds to wash up thoroughly, so I hum 2 choruses of the Happy Birthday song to know I've scrubbed up long enough. And I always keep a scrub brush at the sink to clean under my nails. Now let's get right into the meat of the matter, starting with great Canadian ground beef, of course. You can make burgers with all kinds of ground meat, from extra lean to regular. My choice for health-conscious cooking are extra lean and lean ground beef with maximum fat levels of 10 and 17% respectively. Burgers made with these grinds produce the least amount of flare-up on the grill and have a denser, tighter texture than other grinds.
Medium and regular ground beef, which have a maximum fat levels of 23 and 30% respectively, make moist, flavorful burgers, but they can also produce more grill flare-up than the leaner grinds. When using medium or regular, it's best just to grill 1 or 2 patties at a time. And you know, everyone knows grilling gives burgers great flavor, but do you also know there's another benefit? Grilling can reduce the amount of fat found in raw ground beef on average by 1/3, since some of the fat drips out while cooking on the grill. It really is a lower fat way of cooking burgers than pan frying.
Now Peter, if you consider yourself a beef connoisseur, you should check out the new source-specific ground beef. These grinds are made from single cuts of beef and are great to use in recipes where beef flavor is the feature. Look for lean or extra lean ground round, ground sirloin, and lean ground chuck. If you love the taste of sirloin steak, try out lean ground sirloin for your next batch of burgers.
So now that we're all experts on ground beef, let's make some burgers with Lipton Onion Recipe Soups. And this basic recipe we've developed, making great burgers couldn't be easier. In fact, I call this basic recipe the so simple backyard burger. Start off with a big package of ground beef, 1 to 2 kilogram or 2 to 4 pound sized pack. The recipe will work with a range of package sizes, so you only have to remember the one recipe. Crumble up the beef into a big bowl and add 1 envelope of Lipton onion or onion roasted garlic recipe soup. Use a fork or your hands, scrubbed clean of course, to combine thoroughly, but gently, since manhandling the meat will also make burgers less tender. Lipton recipe soup is all the seasoning you'll need. No fuss, no tears from chopping onions. It is that simple. And if you're using your hands to mix, you can always use these disposable plastic gloves if you want.
Hey Peter, I like to add a lightly beaten egg and 1/4 cup or 50 milliliters of dried breadcrumbs. You don't have to, but it makes for a softer textured burger.
Well, that's a good idea, and it's also important to remember when you're handling raw meat. Do not allow ready-to-eat foods such as your lettuce or tomatoes to come into contact with the meat or meat juices. You also need to be sure to thoroughly clean any surfaces such as counters, cutting boards, or kitchen taps after they may have come into contact with raw meat or its juices.
Hey Peter, here's a neat tip for mixing burgers. If you're working with smaller batches, say a pound or 500 grams of ground beef or less, you can combine and mix all the ingredients together in a large sealable freezer bag, and there's no bowl to wash.
Now that's a good tip. Now, to make the patties, use your clean hands to shape the mixture into burger patties. I like to make sure my hands are wet with a bit of water when I'm working with ground beef just to help stop the meat from sticking. Now, I make patties that are 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters thick.
It's important to keep the thickness as even and consistent as possible so burgers cook in the same amount of time. To help make uniform patties when making a big batch of burgers, I use an inexpensive patty maker from a kitchen store. Or you can use a clean, discarded peanut butter jar lid that's been lined with plastic wrap.
Now here's a neat tip when making your patties, Barb. To help prevent patties from puffing up during your cooking, you can make a shallow depression in the center of each burger using your 2 knuckles like this.
When making a big batch of burgers, I like to make different size burgers for different size appetites. I make 2-ounce patties for children, 4-ounce ones for regular folks, and 6-ounce burgers for He-Man types. If you keep them all the same thickness, they will cook at the same amount of time. From a 1 kilogram or 2-pound ground beef pack, you should get about 9 4-ounce burgers that are 3/4 of an inch thick.
When I'm making up a big batch of so simple burger mix, I like to stash a stack of patties in the freezer for later. I place my patties on a single layer onto several plastic wrap-lined baking trays. Cover them loosely with plastic wrap and freeze just until the meat is firm, 1 or 2 hours. Then, I wrap the frozen patties tightly in heavy foil and place them into dated freezer bags. You can keep them frozen for up to 3 months and cook them straight from the freezer or thaw them in the fridge overnight before cooking.
Peter, what I like to do is split up a big batch of So Simple burger mix to make 2 meals. I use half a batch for burgers and the other for meatballs to use in spaghetti sauce. A double duty dinner.
You know, all this talking about dinner is making me hungry, so let's head out to the grill to cook some backyard burgers.
Sounds like a good idea. The first thing I do at the barbecue is to give the grill a good coating of oil to prevent the burgers from sticking. You can spray the cold grill with cooking spray, or rub it with some vegetable oil on a paper towel. Fire up the grill, put the lid down, and preheat the barbecue to medium-high, about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, about 10 minutes. Once the patties are on the grill, cook them in a closed barbecue over medium-high heat for 5 to 7 minutes per side, turning only once.
And you know, it's important not to overmanage the patties, not to fuss over them while they're cooking. Just keep the lid closed and don't press on them with the lifter, since this is what presses out precious juices and causes flare-ups. It's easy to know when your burgers are cooked to perfection. This is all there is to it. When you get near the end of cooking, use a clean lifter or tongs to remove a patty to a clean plate. Insert a digital rapid read thermometer sideways into the center of the patty and take the temperature reading after about 30 seconds. When the thermometer reads 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 71 centigrade, the burger is done. Transfer the cooked patty to a clean platter and do the same thing with the remaining patties. Washing the thermometer stem and testing plate if you test an undercooked patty along the way. If the patty is undercooked, remove the thermometer, place it back on the grill, and wait a minute or 2 longer, and then test it again.
The digital rapid read food thermometer is an essential cooking tool that you can use when cooking all kinds of foods: roasts, whole poultry, chicken pieces, chops, and steaks, as well as great backyard burgers. With a food thermometer, you will not only be a safe cook, but a great cook. After all, you want to serve hamburgers, not hockey pucks.
And it's also important to keep in mind that you can't really tell if burgers are done by just cutting them open to look at the color of the meat or the meat juices. Beef burgers can look brown in the center, meaning that they look cooked before they actually are. Or they can be pink in the center even after they're done. The food thermometer is really the best way of knowing for sure. Just remember, your burger's done at 71.
So remember, for great backyard burgers, start with quality Canadian ground beef.
And for the simplest, tastiest burgers, use Lipton onion recipe soup, roasted garlic or regular.
And of course, remember to use a food thermometer to cook them to perfection.
Yep, and pick up your free copy of the booklet Burger Basics and More, brought to you by the Beef Information Center and Lipton.
And for more great beef grilling recipes and ideas, visit beefinfo.org or call 1-888-248-BEEF. Now I'm hungry. Peter, want a burger?
If it's done to 71.
It is.